Hi, my name is Anouska De Georgiou, and welcome to the Empowered Exchange podcast. My guests today on the Empowered Exchange podcast are Marissa McGinnis, Maddy and Brittany B. I'm going to get into a little bit of how I met you guys and met you through you, Marissa. So you are the founder of Me Too Family Court, and that was something that really caught my eye on Instagram, and we connected on Instagram, and then I learned just how important this movement is, and I'd love to hear a little bit from you around what led you to start Me Too Family Court.
In 2019, I was healing from family violence. I have a brother who I have a permanent restraining order against, and he abused me most of my life, and I didn't want other people to have to go through domestic violence, family violence, so I started a clinical research organization. I didn't understand all of the nuances involved with why domestic violence can't end. I still really don't understand. I know that it's a spiritual war. I felt it in me at the very beginning, and so that's why I knew that I had to step into my power or whatever and let people know the inner workings of my mind, of what I've gone through and the experiences that I've picked up through the years, and share them. Because every time I explain to somebody about domestic violence and things that are contributing to this public health crisis, there's different experiences that people go through. I first started going to Ocean Beach with my reading materials. I wanted to pick up the vibe on what exactly is going through people's minds, why we can't get through a cure to domestic violence and femicide. So that's when I realized that this is a multi-level, intersectional crime that happens. And so Me Too Family Court came from that business. The business originally started from Maslow's mirror, which is the hierarchy of needs. And then I found out that Dr. Abraham Maslow participated in the Kinsey report, which in turn affected child custody cases for the next 80 years and counting as we know it.
Yeah, and when I started talking to you, the first thing that drew me to the Me Too Family Court page was because I had a friend who was dealing with an abusive power within the family court system and facing losing custody of her two small children, with no evidence presented, and in a what seemed like a very unjust decision, and actually that was by no means the first situation that I've seen like that. And working in advocacy for recovery from trauma and addiction and different kinds of abusive situations, and helping people through that, I saw time and time again how women ended up with the short straw. They ended up with a lack of resources to fight their cause with, and often they're trying to also simultaneously be taking care of their children while they're in this fight and striking that balance. So that was what drew me to the page. And since meeting you, or talking to you on the phone, and now meeting you, I see that you are such an incredibly educated person on this subject. I can't wait to learn more about, even when you mentioned most people probably don't know about Kinsey, certainly not about Maslow. And I think it's really important to have a deeper understanding of how the men through the ages have completely controlled and manipulated the system to make sure that women don't rise up, mothers don't rise up, children don't rise up and challenge this sort of ultimate power that it seems like they're very attached to keeping and holding on to.
When women are abused, it takes two tracks. When women are abused by a stranger, it's a crime. When women are abused by someone they know, it goes to family court. And that's my job, is to make that connection for people, to show them that domestic violence is connected to family court. I don't think people realize that. And when you're getting married, underage especially, you can't get a divorce anymore, by the way. You can't get a divorce. You can't even go to a safe house if you're a domestic violence victim under 18.
Wow.
So it's important for me to connect these problems because Dr. Kinsey, if it wasn't for him, that's when they started basically saying that people can be reprogrammed and rehabilitated. But once you start making justifications for abusing people, you're already showing the character of who you are.
Yeah. I just want to bring Brittany B and Mandy into this. And so you guys are survivors of child marriage.
Yes. That's right.
And advocates now to help other women and children who are suffering within this system, right? And can you, do you guys want to just, maybe you can start and explain how you came to this journey?
Sure. Mandy Havlick. My story starts at the age of 12. I was born and raised in a Christian fundamentalist church in Tempe, Arizona, and a church that believed in the rapture, the second coming of Christ, very high demand. I didn't own a television or go to movies. It was very high control. Everything happened, relationships, everything was within the church. Anything outside of that was seen as demonic or of the devil. And so at the age of 12, I started a relationship with a man who was 18 years old, who had shown interest in me. And my mom had an inappropriate connection to this man as well. And they both groomed me to become, I started waiting and saving myself for marriage and the attempts to become a pastor's wife. They believed in church evangelicalism, then sending people out, church planting type of stuff to get people saved or become a part of the church. And so at 16, I graduated high school at 15. I started the age difference, the dynamic of the relationship. I realized I didn't want this. And so I actually broke up with him. And from that point, my parents clamped down on all the liberties that I had. They made me quit my job at a law firm. They were telling me I was being compromised, that I was ruining my destiny, that it was against God's will. I was going to go to hell. My dad and my mom, basically, she kept pushing me into meeting with him to attempt to reconcile. And what was happening is we were physical. We were having sex, and I went and met him one last time. And after the dinner of exhausting all attempts to reconcile, he wanted to go show me this custom home that he was helping build. I was driven out to a dirt field in the middle of nowhere. And he wanted to have sex with me one last time because I wasn't going to reconcile. And he felt compelled to ask that, which infuriated me. I wanted to go home. He got so angry that he started driving through red lights and stop signs. And I was pleading for my life. I really thought we were going to crash and spiral out into this car accident. And so he reached over and punched me several times. I blacked out. I came to, and I realized he was still, speeding through the intersections. He did pull over to stop. And in the bathroom of the gas station, I just remember the look of the clerk. He knew what was happening. I immediately, seeing the visible, my eyes swollen shut, I realized there's no undoing this. So I was like, we got robbed. We were mugged. That was the story I told my parents. And I contacted my friends that I worked with. I ran away the very next day. I even tried to get emancipated. The state of Arizona does not allow for that. And I ran away to Colorado. I got a one-way ticket with all cash. I was 16 years old. This is pre-9/11, mind you. And I was gone for about 6 weeks. My mom and dad were just insistent, and I had exhausted every option. So I came home, and my mom had him at my house the very next day, and I was exhausted by my experience of advocating and reaching all these dead ends. So I gave up, and we were married soon, a week after I turned 17. And that's when I realized I was in a cage, because every attempt to be romantic or the wooing, the grooming stopped after we were married. and he'd caught me, and he wanted to control me. And so I escaped that at 20, and I went through a full excommunication. My dad, they stole my vehicle from my job in attempts to sabotage my efforts. My own family cut me off. The things that have been spoken to me, to go through everyone I had ever known in my life, to have no relationship, it took decades to rebuild. I'm 43 now, and it's a lot to go through that experience, let alone, and then have to dig yourself out of it, not being supported by your family. And so I found Unchained at last through social media, through an Instagram post. They were collaborating with the United Nations on some human rights, and they were talking about female genital mutilation as well as child marriage. And I didn't feel so alone after that point. I found my people, and I reached out, I shared my story, and within a year, I was being flown to Sacramento to meet other survivors. And here we are, advocating for the change to stop this practice here in California as well.
Wow, what an incredible story. And I'm so, so sorry. I'm so sorry for what you went through. I'm so sorry for what we've all gone through.
Yes.
And I'm so glad that you had the courage to be able to share this and help others and advocate and I'm glad that we all got connected today,
Yes, definitely.
And I want to hear a little bit about your story too, whatever you feel comfortable sharing.
Of course, yeah. My name is Brittany B, and I'm a survivor. I was forced into a marriage when I was also 17. But just like Maddy's story, very similar, but it's also so complicated. One of 10 children. Grew up in an evangelical cult. I consider the LDS Church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormon Church, to be a harmful cult. Like I said, one of 10 children, firstborn daughter. My parents divorced when I was very young, 4. And they flew us back and forth, me and 3 of my brothers, from Salt Lake to wherever my dad was stationed at the time. So we had a really chaotic upbringing. And my dad was very abusive. When he remarried my stepmother, she was 19 and he was 31. She had a son from a previous marriage, and my father had 4 children. So at 19 years old, after 2 weeks of knowing each other, my stepmother had 5 children to take care of. And that's a lot to put on someone. And so
Of
we
any
just didn't have our needs met the way that we could have. And it left me very vulnerable to the manipulation of someone showing me any type of kindness. And when I was 13, a man, he was 20 years old, he convinced me to be with him in his car. And so I was molested for about a year. And then he passed me to his friend. And that friend later became my husband. That friend was 20 as well. And that abuse went on for years. When I was 14, he was like, hey, download this app on your iPhone or your iPod. And every time you have Wi-Fi, you can text me. So I used it to text like my cousins, my mom sometimes. And, daily messages every day. You're so beautiful. I want to be with you. And he manipulated my little girl mind. And I wanted his love. And I wanted to be wanted. And I was finally getting attention that every child should receive. But this was a monster. This was a predator. And I didn't know what I was doing was wrong, because the church teaches you to listen to men. The church teaches you that men will take care of you, that they are the end-all be-all. They are the head of the household. They are the patriarch. They are the line between the spiritual realm, God, and this earth, which I believe is women. But as this abuse went on, he showed up one day, and he would send coffee, he would send flowers, and my parents were like, where are all these things coming from? And after my first year of high school, the abuse was getting so bad that I fell into a deep depression, and my parents just said, why don't you just drop out? You don't need it. So I dropped out of high school, finished 1 year of high school. And by the time I turned 16, this man came and said, I'm either going to come up to your door and talk to your father, or you can come away with me. And so I did. He took me across state lines, where he kept me at his parents' house for weeks, months. And everything that happened there, I have never shared publicly, and I don't know that I ever will. I don't know if I ever will. And when the police found me, they told me that what he did was legal. Because 16-year-olds in the state of Utah can consent to adult activities with an adult up to 10 years their senior. And then we wonder how child marriage is legal. There are several laws that seem to have the only purpose of protecting a predator. We think we're giving power to children by giving them the right to marry. A child doesn't have access to a license. A child does not have access to a marriage license. A parent does. A guardian does. The only thing that a child marriage survivor does, a victim of child marriage in their own marriage, is sign the line. That is the only thing they do in the entire process of their own marriage. And then they don't have any access to retain a lawyer. If they are beaten and they manage to get to a hospital, they still need their guardian's permission to access healthcare, to access school. This man told me, you can go to work. You can go back to high school. Let me take care of you. And what he did is torture me for weeks. And then I get home, and what do my parents do? They take my money, they take my medication, they take my phone. They won't let me leave the house without a chaperone. I tried to kill myself. A couple months go by, and he shows up at the door. I love your daughter. I want to be with her. I was married the next day. I was married the next day. 6 a.m. down to the courthouse, access the license, come home, and less than an hour had passed before I had signed that line. And my stepmother had thrown haphazardly all of my childhood things into boxes and shoved them in the back of his car and trunk. It was a wave goodbye for my little baby siblings on the porch. He drove me 10 minutes down the street in my own childhood neighborhood and raped me in the back of his car. And he said something that I'll never forget. You belong to me now.
Yeah. And that sense of ownership that anyone who's been abused, whether they're a child or not, but particularly for children, that sense of having no agency, no ability, completely voiceless and silenced. And even if you found the strength to actually be able to say the words out loud, then who are you going to say it to, or what are they going to do? Yeah. And you know, as a survivor myself, it's like, okay, people say, oh, why didn't you tell anyone? Are you joking? Yeah. Are you actually joking?
I don't owe you anything. I don't owe you a story.
First of all, like, who was I going to tell, and what was going to be the consequence, right? Because the whole abuse of power is part of what we're dealing with, from the Me Too family court situation to what both of you have been through and what so many children in this country go through still today. Do you guys know the statistics on what I'm sure it's very difficult to gather statistics, but do we have an idea?
We do.
Yeah.
Unchained at Last has conducted a study, and we can actually provide you a link to that.
Great.
The reason we're here is tonight we're actually going to be, Chelsea Clinton will be here at the Hammer Museum to have a fireside conversation about child marriage. Since 2000, 300,000 cases of child marriage throughout the United States. A majority of them are girls, but there are young boys that are part of this equation. There's always, there's been a lot of similarities in our stories. You know, there's a religious factor. There's typically always a parent involved. And like Brittany and even my experience, a lot of the dysfunction, that's just one element of the dysfunction that's going on in the family. I had other things going on in the family. And so, you know, to see how some parents are utilizing their children or as extensions of themselves, or as in Brittany's case, the convenience factor. We've seen some people being married off to evade child support payments. Custody issues, statutory rape. In my case, it legitimized that. And so those are just some of the challenges that survivors face in their experiences.
To be told by the state that the horror of those weeks of being trapped in that room, and his parents did not know that I was in there, a 16-year-old girl in an adult man's house, trapped, and the state tells me that everything he did is okay.
So what do we like? So what is the call to action? What are we going to do?
Right now, what we're trying to do is stop this. You know, when we share our experiences, a lot of people are very shocked to find out that it's happening here in the United States. They think it's happening in a different country, that this is an archaic practice. But the reality is it's happening. People are weaponizing marriage and trapping children in these powerful dynamics, and it's very harmful. And so we're looking to abolish that in every state. Unchained at Last has advocated for that practice to be stopped at 18, 18 being the limit for marriage. And the reason is not that we believe that there is a newfound wisdom that you're going to find at the age of 18 and picking your life partner. But when you wake up on your 18th birthday, you're gifted with legal capacity. You have that agency to make contracts, to get a lawyer, to enlist in the military, purchase certain products that, you know, are regulated. And so these are the things that we're wanting to protect children. Let children be children, and say marriage will be there. It's not a time-sensitive issue. Like a pregnancy, these are things that can wait. We need to do our best to not parentify and keep our children out of these adult situations that they don't need to be in.
It's a simple solution. Raise the minimum age to 18 without exception.
18, no exception.
18, no exception. It's very important that we say no exception. Because even in states,
exemptions, the kind of exemptions,
even in states where the limit is 15, the limit is 16, you can petition a judge as a mother, as a father, petition a judge for your pregnant 12-year-old to marry her rapist. It happens.
It happens. 300,000.
One child marriage survivor story and experience is enough. So how many of us is it going to take? Because in 2021, in California, Unchained at Last and the Census Bureau worked together to gather data for that year for child marriage.
For the first time ever.
8,000 children. Some of those girls, 10 years old. Tell me how it is illegal to have sex with a minor, if you call it sex. And then when you sign the line, it's not legal. It's not illegal anymore. It's legal. That is child sex trafficking sanctioned by the state. People are saying, we're worried they're going to make child marriage legal. Honey, it's legal. It's been legal. It's time to make it stop.
They just didn't have any data before 2018.
There are no mandates. There are no such mandates.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the number is far greater than 300,000.
It's just
because, I mean, you know, I know how many people that I know personally who were victims of sexual abuse as a child, sexual assault as a child or a young adult who have not come forward. I have got hundreds of names in my head of people who've never told, like they've told one person.
So in 1955, the American Law Institute adopted Dr. Kinsey's ideology that children are sexual from birth. He taught other pedophiles how to rape children and cause orgasms. And he has it's called the Children of Table 34. And the children are all listed as young as 5 months old, having orgasms in 24 to 26-hour periods. And that's also inclusive of nap time. So he legitimized children being sexual entities because they were able to have orgasms, even if there were seizures involved, or vomiting, or screaming, or whatever. And not that, you know, some children, I'm not even going to get into that, but it's just, you know, it's a warped sense of what he called science, and it's not real. And the American Law Institute adopted this theory in 1955, and we need to repeal that. And I think that what people don't understand is that the statute of limitations is still alive because that's fraud. Now, I'm not a lawyer, and I've been trying to get somebody to be a lawyer and completely get rid of this, repeal this 1955 bad law, which, in summary, released all of the protections that women and children had. So if we repeal that, I feel like all of this can be undone.
Right.
And I actually asked ChatGPT, and ChatGPT said that women will own the economy if we actually repeal this bad law.
I guess we know why it's not being repealed then.
Right.
You know, when you mention Dr. Kinsey initiating and you know, following through on helping this
well, he was a social reformer.
Right.
That's what he called himself.
But I mean, you know, I think most people, most of the general public, what they know about him is what they saw in the Netflix series, and it very much glamorized that whole situation, his whole process, his discoveries, and almost put him on a pedestal as a trailblazer of the sexual revolution kind of thing, right?
He's the father of the sexual revolution.
Right. And in fact, it sounds as though he's the father of enabling pedophilia and child abuse.
He's the poster boy for NAMBLA. NAMBLA is the North American Man-Boy Love Association. Now, when Kinsey came on the scene, you have to remember that this was also at the time that Dr. Maslow was the father of the human potential movement, and the eugenics was going on. And so I just think that basically that we glamorized these doctors. We made them idols, and we looked to these men as medicine men in America. But in actuality, medicine has been going on for thousands of years. We have the medicine men. We've got ayahuasca that has been a traditional ritual for over 5,000 years. And then all of a sudden you get pharmaceuticals here. And this is where I start learning about Dr. John D. Rockefeller and his interest in pharmaceuticals. So there's no money in the cure. There's money in the comeback.
Yeah. And, you know, talking about Dr. Kinsey, but also, you know, when you and I were talking the other day about Dr. Ferber and clinicians who were aligned with this concept of separating babies from their mothers, teaching us that breastfeeding was bad. And of course, you know, let's bring in the massive industry of formula.
Nestle.
Nestle.
Filled over 10 million.
The evil company. nothing ethical about Nestle on any level. And then you're getting babies or mothers who are being conditioned that they can't look after their own baby. They can't go to their baby when their baby cries because it's bad for the baby. They're going to end up with a really codependent and needy child. And you know, I mean, my daughter was I breastfed till she was 5.
Me too.
And she's the most amazing child.
Mine too.
We all know it's a lie now. They lied to us. And one of the other doctors that was involved in the Kinsey report, he was a pediatrician. His name was Dr. Fritz von Balusek. He was a pediatrician, and he raped over 500 children, I think. And maybe it was more. I don't remember. But anyway, it was a lot, in the hundreds. And he participated in the Kinsey report. He told Dr. Kinsey how to avoid detection, how to avoid being caught. And he was a Nazi. He was a straight up Nazi.
What? Yeah.
So, and these are the people that formed our custody laws. These are the people that formed the laws that send pedophiles to prisons and causes reform and rehabilitation. And that's why we see these deals all the time. I'm collaborating oftentimes with certain organizations like Rise Above Justice, and I'm saying no more deals. These people cannot be rehabilitated. Once you're attracted to a child, that's who you are. That's who you are.
There's no coming back from that.
No.
So what do you think the solution is for, other than I think there's an opportunity to stop raising perpetrators and creating perpetrators through childhood experiences, but what do we do about the ones that are in it? What can we do?
So I like Florida's new capital punishment law. I also like castrating.
That law?
I'm not too familiar with it, but I know that you end up getting your demonic soul taken away from your body, and you're not able to hurt any more children anymore. That's all I know about that law.
Okay.
And then castrating. I want to bring back the Concord prison experiment, where we're giving over 5 grams of psilocybin mushrooms to these individuals and seeing what happens to their brains, specifically their amygdala, because this is where memories and emotion are stored. And I truly do believe that there's something there that can give us some sort of insight on why somebody was not... Another thing also is I don't think that there's enough education awareness. These pedophiles, they think that they're actually loving the children. They don't think that they're hurting them. So I think that if we send a clear message to the pedophiles that it actually is. We have scientific proof that, and sometimes they don't even care. They don't believe in the scientific.
Sure.
So that's where I send them to Florida. And just let's go ahead and get them in a wood chipper.
It's also it's an order of priority, right? If we're looking at how to heal the perpetrator or the pedophile, and then how to save the child or the children, we have to prioritize saving the children, protecting the children,
right?
And then, but at the same time, we're then stuck with all these people who are dysfunctional, broken perpetrators. And I mean, statistics show that most people who perpetrate on others, whether that's on children or on women or whoever they're perpetrating on, they are mostly themselves victims of some kind of abuse or neglect. So I really think there are so many sort of tranches that we need to address.
Well, that's why it's intersectional,
right? And
we also need to bring pornography into the picture here too, because that is how the perpetrators groom. So you have the grooming process, and then they'll show you videos. Or they'll show you pictures. You've got Playboy magazine. So we have to address the pornography that. I'm not a square person by any means. I'm not a holy roller. I definitely have my faith. But the pornography softens people's brains, and it actually does cause brain damage. And men will actually they'll start off as little boys,
Right.
seeing, especially with the internet these days, and they'll see pictures of pornography, they'll normalize it. Strangulation is
Right.
They just made strangulation and pornography illegal in a country, I believe in the UK. So these are all things, pornography, and I don't know, any other suggestions?
Yeah, I think that the medical environment should create, and don't hate me, a safe space for these people to get help.
Yeah.
I think that psychologists should open themselves up to allowing these people to come forward and say, I need help.
Yeah.
Because I refuse to believe that these people struggling for so long with these, call it whatever you want, urges, all are bad. I think that maybe they did suffer for a really long time in their youth, and they do want help, and they do want to get better. That's the world I want to live in.
There are these there are people that are plagued, but I think that that's a really small portion.
Yeah.
You'll find in this narcissistic community that we live in these days is the narcissists, they don't care if it's a man, a woman, a child, an animal.
It's about opportunity.
Yeah, they just want to satisfy this urge, and it doesn't matter who they hurt. And I think that a lot of it has to do with, if we go back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, when he added sex as a basic need, that it just psychologically gave the entitlement of somebody else's body.
Yeah. When you told me that, when we were talking on the phone for the first time, that blew my mind. Because as soon as you said the words of putting it into the hierarchy of needs, and I literally had this visual picture of it, like written out, and immediately I was devastated by what that meant, And to speak to what you were saying about pornography, working in addiction, I've worked with lots of amazing clinicians who specialize in sex addiction, and they say the introduction of pornography on the internet has catapulted sex addiction and the acceleration of deviance to such a level because, firstly, it's so accessible, and secondly, the algorithm of how pornography works means it just keeps showing you something a little bit more extreme.
And plus the hormone that you get after
is addictive.
Climaxing or watching this sex occur, the dopamine hit. I mean, I remember hearing about this one study involving chimpanzees where they hooked up like a brain transponder situation hat on the head of this chimpanzee with a little clicker, and every time it hit the clicker it would have an orgasm.
Oh, wow.
And it actually ended up killing itself because it hit the clicker.
It's a clicker too much.
That's
yeah.
Wow.
So I mean, if you just think about it, I mean, children. I mean, I don't want to compare children to monkeys or whatever, but if you're a child, you're watching pornography, you're getting addicted to the dopamine hit that you get. It's a completely normal reaction to enjoy having an orgasm. It is.
And I think that hit, it's not just, like you said, porn. I think it's so seductive because of how our society with social media. I mean, they're having conversations about children and how much is too much, and how it's just that click bait, clicking,
feel more
getting that.
Yeah, and attention, the secondary gain of just getting attention.
Making yourself more grown up.
Yeah.
And the isolation component, right? If you're a boy growing up with years without touching a person, and you are conditioned to, whatever it is that you're watching, to go out into the dating world with no
expectation and
no example of a real life, what it's supposed to feel like to be with another human being. I think that's a dangerous concept for little boys.
Yeah.
For little boys.
So I think, Unchained at Last is is something that, is that a website that people can go to if they want to?
Unchained@last.org. It was started by Frady Reese. She is a survivor of forced marriage, and so she's leading the charge. I would love it if you were able to join us tonight. Maybe she is a firecracker.
She's from New York.
She's from New York. She is very much our spirited leader, and she's really been leading the fight because through this, I mean, the unthinkable, even I'm sure in your experience, people justifying abuse, the excuses that are being made for men who make this their practice, it's appalling. It's appalling. And we need to, I think being led by survivors, it just really highlights the importance and the realities of this in our country.
Frady Reese, she started a nonprofit organization Unchained at Last for forced marriage survivors because of her experience. And she did a TED Talk. She described what she had found was children were calling her nonprofit, I don't want to be married. I was forced into a marriage. And that's when she realized
this is a huge problem.
Child marriage is legal in the United States, and it's a huge, catastrophic problem that we are not addressing.
And there's also reunification therapy that's here, that needs to be addressed too, and conversion therapy. That's for the gay population. And so any kind of like any of these involvements, we all need to, like I said, it takes two tracks, right? One's a crime and then one's a family court, and it goes by state by state. And that's where the American Law Institute, I think, failed, because that's when it split. That's when it went from state to state to federal. Because if you just made everything federal,
right?
Because it's not,
then you don't need to go state
right.
by state.
It shouldn't be a state by state. Like if I go from here to Utah, like in Utah, child marriage is legal, but in California, it's not. That's not actually true.
Yeah, but
I'm just giving an example. But yeah, you need to make it federally across the board that anything under 18 years old is illegal.
So do we know what is the process to make this a federal law? Right. What do we need to do?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, we need to repeal the 1955 American Law Institute Act. But I'm not a lawyer, so I don't exactly know how to do
so
that.
we need some great lawyers.
Yeah, right now, the current state of where we're at is that the states are dictating it. So we're really at this one bite at a time, which is unfortunate with advocacy, because it does, like Marissa says, it creates a whack-a-mole situation where, which state am I going to go to, right? And they can get a free get out of jail free card. And so the real issue right now is there is going to be a state assembly bill brought through the California State Assembly. We're hoping to get more details on that in January, February time. And that will be the steps for going through the state of California. Unchained at Last has in their advocacy most recently New Jersey, we've got Maine, we've got Missouri, Oregon. Those are Washington State.
DC, the capital of the United States, has banned child marriage.
So our efforts this next year are going to be California. And we were here a few years ago. Unfortunately, it got killed in the Judicial Committee by...
So I just want to clarify to really have it loud and clear.
Oh, sure.
So child marriage is legal in California?
Yes.
And there's no minimum age.
Minimum age.
There is no minimum age.
I mean, for such a liberal state, I just can't... I mean, honestly, I didn't know that. So there is no legal age.
There's actually no federal minimum age for marriage for a spousal visa. So you can come to California, maintain residency here, petition for a spousal visa, and literally mail order a child bride.
And it's New Mexico also,
Mississippi, Oklahoma.
And Mississippi and Oklahoma. Those are the 0 age minimum.
Yeah. And it's disgusting, especially when you see the state of California. They need to be the leaders when it comes to this. They have to be. Some of the challenges that we've had are from some organizations that you might not expect.
Yeah,
when the ACLU.
When they told me ACLU, Planned Parenthood.
The ACLU was actually the lawyer for Dr. Kinsey. Ernst Morris was the name of an ACLU lawyer who represented Kinsey and went on to write a book afterwards. The Planned Parenthood, and the Margaret Sanger, she was the founder of Planned Parenthood, also a eugenicist. She was the mother of the sexual rights movement, and she was friends with Dr. Kinsey. So, a lot of these things, like I said, I keep coming back to intersectionality. There's just so many.
Yeah.
Like there's a bill in January, Ethan's Law.
Oh, yes.
In Georgia, January. I want to put pressure on Georgia to ban or pass Ethan's Law, HB 253.
Yeah, I was telling you, my some friends of mine are working on Aaron's Law, and to put into every state in schools conversations, mandatory conversations about consent, mandatory age-appropriate sex education, some kind of platform so that if something is happening, there's a safe space through the school to be able to report and get protection and support.
I think that's the key part. I know earlier we talked about the recourse of what is a child that is in that situation. There's no opportunity for relief that's even considered safe. I mean, going into foster care or this be a ward of the state, I don't even think there's any real safe program that would provide a pathway to relief for any child who would be experiencing child marriage. Because again, you're asking that child at that age to have a framework that I don't think anyone would be willing to do, to give up and,
so frustrating.
It's like they stick with the devil that they know.
The familiarity.
Yes, they don't know any different.
Not only are these perpetrators not being held accountable in any sense of the word, but we are constantly doing damage control.
Yeah.
Constantly.
And then the taxpayer pays for it.
And then the taxpayer pays for it. And the GDP pays for it. Billions of dollars.
It's an Ouroboros.
Yeah.
It's the snake eating itself.
And at the end of the line, it's a man. Every time.
So, to speak to that, and I have my own kind of answer, and that's why I'm want to ask the three of you, with these kinds of horrific abuses committed on you, how do you accept men, love men, be with men? How do you feel about men?
I am grateful. I have somehow acquired a golden retriever husband in a sense. He's the wind beneath my wings. Okay. Sorry, I'm ridiculous.
He's a sweet man.
Yeah. But shortly after, I got back in another abusive relationship. As I left, a lot of times, the devil, you repeat these cycles and stuff. It's I'm trauma informed. I'm very grateful, for therapy. Those tools have allowed me to get more insight into who I am as a person and to get an awareness of the harm that's happened to me. I think that's incredible. That's something that's very vital for any survivor. And then, healing with time. I think where a lot of my own pain, it doesn't necessarily come up with the men, it comes up with my parenting, reparenting yourself, reparenting your children, doing and choosing a different way. I feel that that's where a lot of the harm that's happened to me, the anger, the fear of someone doing that to my child, that's what's coming up a lot more for me. We're constantly having to fight patriarchal ways. This world is built and made for men. And I think, with what Marissa's been highlighting, even our legal system, in a sense, it's been built to protect the patriarchy. And so having a voice, being able to advocate for this has been very cathartic to share my truth and to release that shame, and also to help someone else not go through that pain that I experienced or that we've all experienced. It's powerful. It's powerful.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I've been tapping into my rage as a survivor. So what do I think of men? I think that they're pathetic. I might get a lot of heat, but I think it's very pathetic.
They're not
because when you are abused as a child and you grow up to abuse, I was abused as a child, wasn't I? I'm not making those choices.
The choice is the key word.
Choices. Because if you don't think every day that I don't have a burning rage to let the monster out of the box, we look at the monster and have a conversation with the monster, okay? You're part of me. You're part of me. And even though this monster was placed inside me by somebody else, men are not fighting their monster. They are refusing evolution. And we can see that in the numbers, right? Women are owning more homes. They are going to college at a higher rate. They're doing so well because we're fighting our monsters. Men are not fighting their monster.
In fact, fewer women want to get married now, you know, because they don't need it.
They don't need it.
It's modern day slavery.
It is modern day slavery. And child marriage is legalized sex trafficking, state-sanctioned legalized sex trafficking of children when we allow child marriage in our society under any capacity. When I left my husband, I had been married a year and a half, and I had nothing. When I tell you I had nothing, I was sleeping on the street using the mall Wi-Fi to ask my mom, please take me in, and she wouldn't because of a drug issue that I had. No, I didn't have the drug issue, I should say. I had an issue with my mom's drug use.
I know, yeah.
And because of that, she refused to take me in. And of course, my father wasn't going to take me in. My grandparents eventually loaned me about $700, which I used to get a vehicle and car insurance. I managed to get a job at a gym, at a Gold's Gym where I showered. So I'd sleep in my car, I'd work at the gym. And I kept grinding. You know, being a homeless person puts you in a lot of very precarious situations, a lot of risky situations. And when I finally turned 21, I was able to complete my GED. And then I joined the military, served 8 years in the Army. And I'm still on my journey today. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. I joined to get out of poverty, and that's the truth. And that's the truth. And I do love my country, and I believe that my country can do better.
Yes. Yeah.
I believe that we can value the most vulnerable among us first.
Yeah. I think that so I'm from San Diego, obviously, and I was looking at the San Diego court website, and they have a child marriage form there for you for the child to fill out, you know, to sign in San Diego. So I'm like, if you don't think this is happening in your city, just go to your website and look up child marriage license.
Wow.
And or minor, juvenile, I think is what it said, juvenile marriage license. And I think that the judges who are who are ordering these marriages to take place are really at fault, and they're doing a disservice to the American people, and they're not abiding by their oath for the American people, because these children eventually will become adults. And you know, the female vote is already 51% of the population, and I think that there is a real necessity here to see it more as domestic terrorism, because what you're doing is you're conditioning a child to become a voter someday. And I do think that there's a huge eugenics thing going on here.
Yeah. And so for you as a survivor, how do you feel about men? How do you feel?
I was going to be able to get out of this question.
Really well, Marissa.
No, I do. I love men. I was a professional pool player for a long time, and I competed against men. I'm also a fisherwoman. I go out on boats a lot. I golf. I play baseball. I love men. I'm focused more on my relationships with women. Like I said, I love men, but I think that they need their own place. They should go to their own safe spaces.
With each other.
With each other, and
Hold each other accountable.
Each other accountable.
That's a lot.
give each other hugs, whatever it is that
Give
they
each other
need to
whatever
do.
they need to do better.
They need to do better.
Women aren't going to do it for you anymore.
There's also the Polished Man. They're out in the UK. I love them. They have the little blue fingernail, paint the blue fingernail. A lot of celebrity men are getting involved in that. I think that that's great. I'm concentrating on the bigger picture here because gender-based violence is the root of this. It's all about the patriarchy, and America, we adopted. This is a lot what my book is about. We adopted the laws from England when colonialism came over here. And then we also adopted Nazis. The Indian Nazis took the India theory of the caste system. And then the Nazis, we took over the Nazis system. So it's all just an entire dumpster fire right now. But we are Unchained at Last is one of the main groups that's getting involved with this. Rise Above Justice. You are putting a huge spotlight on us, and I appreciate it. Nietzsche Family Court, One Mom's Battle, Georgia Protective Parents. I mean, there's so many organizations right now, and I'm teaching women how to become their own nonprofit, so that way they can still not have to have a regular 8-to-5 job.
Yes,
because we can't
work or do whatever they need to do.
We're traumatized. We can't work jobs.
That's what's so amazing about women is that even when you box us in, we find a window.
That's right.
We help each other. We communicate it. We talk to each other. We help each other.
Yeah.
We find a way. Men just like.
Yeah, they need some help.
And it's not going to be me.
Well, I do think
it shouldn't be you.
I do think, getting back to the men a little bit, I do think that when I look back on my research and with Dr. Kinsey and Aleister Crowley and all of that, I do believe, I know that MK Ultra is real. I found that out on the day that my mother died in the hospital. I read the Canada news article, and I found out that MK Ultra is actually involved in a class action lawsuit in Canada right now. So when I think about all of that, and I think that when we go and we are talking about cults, I know that there is a cult that has been involved in family court. It was called Synanon, the most dangerous cult in American history. And they were included in this with IBM. They were worth $33 million. And IBM is still involved in family court. I was a court watcher in Sacramento, and I got a little pop-up saying that IBM wanted to have access to my court reporting, or my court watching situation. And I took a screenshot of it. But the calling of the men is part of the ritual that I believe was conducted here through Dr. Kinsey via Aleister Crowley. That first they called the men, and they gave them pornography, fed them alcohol, and then they brought them to wars, and that we got PTSD like in mass numbers with military men. And I started off at Balboa Naval Hospital. I love our soldiers. I absolutely, they had a huge impact on my work and my research because I love my brother so much. I very much internalized a lot of misogyny growing up and being part of the patriarchy, and that's why I'm healing my mother wound right now. But I do think that men were called away from their calling. And I think that that's what we're seeing right now in this male loneliness epidemic. I'm praying that they all get together and they do find healing amongst each other, and that they lead each other. Women don't need to be led. We are the leaders. And we hope that men will take our energy and do something positive with it.
And they can amplify it.
Yeah, looking inward and accountability. I think that we've been speaking our truth, and there needs to be a public reconciliation and acknowledgement of this pain, this generational trauma that we're cyclic almost. It's just systemic in every level.
When a woman is lifted up the way that you are with your husband, when a husband is called to his wife and is her consort, she can do great things. And
and so can he.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
and I think we need to modernize that your feelings or being emotionally intelligent, that those are strengths, that's true. That's true growth. That's true maturity. And that there's not necessarily a reward, but there's a positive nature of your interactions that can take effect should you be more aware of how you're showing up in life. And I think that's unfortunate. In men, there's this entitlement of that, and the world has. I mean, it's been created for, by, and to benefit men. And to realize that the patriarchy and these patriarchal ways, they're harming us from the top down.
Yeah, patriarchy hurts men just as much.
It just hurts them as much.
Absolutely does. And I'll never forget when my husband came home from a Mankind Project weekend where you go and you practice your skills, your emotional literacy, and you bear witness to other men's trauma. And he came home and the first thing he said with tears in his eyes, and I'll never forget, men are so mean to little boys.
Yeah.
Give boys back their childhood and their feelings.
To show their emotion or cry or to
and give
not
kisses
tough
and
it out.
wear their wings and be a little fairy and just let them live. Holy cow.
I mean, what I've seen working with survivors, working with
Excuse me.
women, but working with men also is like you can cry when you're a boy.
Yeah.
Or you can save it all up and it's going to come out.
Yeah. And you murder your girlfriend.
You will not just never cry and never come out. It will come out somewhere.
The body keeps
the body keeps score and the body says no.
Giving yourself cancer.
But to get back to like what the issues that brought us here together today, it sounds like we really need a campaign, and we need a campaign that has real focus, real unity, and some politicians, some lawmakers, some great lawyers to get behind this. And I think it sounds like the number one thing is the age of 18.
Yeah.
Right, at a federal level.
Yeah.
And then also weaving in the different things with Maslow's law and those other things as well, right?
Like I said, I think that it really comes down to that 1955 law and repealing it, that it would cause just a complete
needs.
No, the American Law Institute. Okay. They adopted Kinsey's saying that basically what Kinsey said is that that children are sexual from birth, and that the pedophile, we are harming the pedophile by imprisoning him. That they usually don't reoffend. That this is what Kinsey says. But we know that is not true now. And I think that we have enough data to support
When my ex-husband remarried, he married another 17-year-old girl.
Yeah.
That was his fourth marriage.
Yeah, so there's a thing called the starter wife. Have you heard of this?
Yeah.
So they have like the starter wife, and then you, at the end of their life, they oftentimes use women to be their nurse, and they just recycle. It's a new slave. It's a new slave. There's actually a case in Coronado. I believe it was in the 1950s, and it was Elizabeth Ingalls was her name. She was married to Mr. Ingalls. I can't remember his name, but he was in the military. And they had a young lady that was working for them, and the Mr. Ingalls ended up impregnating her, and then they psychologically abused her so much. Elizabeth Ingalls, the wife, is the one that ended up getting in trouble.
Right.
But they ended up having the slave,
of course,
in Coronado, and it's a huge case.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need some support. We need some lawmakers. We need lawyers, and we need to start moving. And thank you all for being here.
Yes.
And thank you for your courage, the journeys that you've arduously traveled. I'm so grateful that I know you. I feel like we're definitely going to be friends.
Oh, yeah.
See each other.
Thank you. I think that our shared experience of just advocating for our stories to be believed and should not have others go through that I think it's just a natural conversation, and that shared experience. We need all hands on deck about stopping this practice in California, and everyone from every bipartisan, every side of the aisle, every high profile celebrity, anyone who is in the business of repairing the lives of humans and women and girls, on deck with this. And so I'm encouraged by the people we're finding in these spaces.
A lot.
And we would love if you became a part of our coalition.
I would love that.
I would love, it's no cost. It's just saying you're standing with survivors of what.
I will. Absolutely.
Marina, I've talked to Marina, and she's already on board. She loves what we got going on here. And did I tell you about dinner on Blanc at all?
No.
Dinner on Blanc? Okay, well, we'll have to have that.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Okay, so everybody needs to follow all of our Instagram pages.
Yes. We can, and I can send over Unchained at Last. I can send over the links to the report. And thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you all
Thank
so
you.
much. I'm in.
All right.